Okay, so hopefully you're watching this video before you're attempting the test. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of go through the test questions and make sure you don't have any questions. There's a few things that I did differently. I stole the test from Ms. Hamrick. So there's a few things that she did a little differently than I did, and so I wanna go over those with you for sure, okay? The first one here just says, label it as opposite adjacent hypotenuse in relation to angle A. So you'll go to A and you'll label opposite of A, adjacent to A, and hypotenuse of the triangle, okay? And it's just the words, it's drag and drop, all right? All right, then the next one is, so this one says, given the right triangle shown, which of the following represents the value of cosine of A? And she didn't do any reducing of fractions or anything like that, okay? So cosine of A, so you're gonna go to angle A, and of course you're gonna do cosine, whatever that is. And then it's multiple choice, okay? All right, and then this one is sine of A. So I changed this one from hers because what she did not give you this side. We talked about Pythagorean triples, but I really didn't tell you that it would for sure be on there. And I didn't want you to have to go through the Pythagorean theorem to find a missing side because we really didn't do that either in class. We talked about it. I worked an example or two, but I didn't give you any problems to practice like that, okay? So I just found the new picture that had all these, okay? So you're going to find sine of angle A. So find angle A and then do the sine ratio. All right, and again, it's multiple choice here, as you can see. Okay, so the next one is finding a missing side. So this one is where you're going to need to do your proportion. And I gave you a link right here. If you'll click that link, it opens up a Desmos, the scientific Desmos calculator, okay? Now remember, when do you use the -1? When do you use these three? When do you use those? Come on, somebody knows. You use this when you're undoing a sine, cosine, and tangent, right? So if I have sine of an angle I don't know, and I want to know the angle, that's when I'll do sine -1, right? To undo the sine. So this is when you're looking for the angle. When you are looking for the angle. So here, am I looking for the angle? Or do I know the angle? You know the angle, so you won't be using the -1. You'll just be using the regular sine, cosine, or tangent. So remember how you work these is, what? How do you know if you're going to use sine, cosine, or tangent? No, that's how you can find a missing side, but how do I know if I have opposite or hypotenuse, or if I have adjacent and hypotenuse, or opposite and adjacent? Because that's what I need to know, right? Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, tangent is opposite over adjacent. So how do I know which of these I have? Come on. Do you know opposite of your angle? You do? Go opposite of the angle. Do you know that?
No.
There's no number there or X, right? So I don't have opposite. So it's probably not going to be that one or that one since they both use opposite. What I do have is adjacent and, what's this one? Hypotenuse. So I can find that. So let me work an example like this one, okay? So write this down so you can use this on your test. We're not going to do this exact one, but we will do one similar. So I'm going to give you a right triangle. I'm going to tell you that this angle up here is 48 degrees. I'm going to tell you that this side is 8 and this side is 12. Oh wait, I lied. I have no idea what that side is. I'm gonna call that one X. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna solve this for x. We're trying to find that missing side. So you compare, first step, compare what you know to the angle that you know, or what you need to know. So here's my angle. What do I have? Is that opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse? Opposite. And then what is this one? It's across from the right angle. It's the longest side. That's the hypotenuse, right? So which trig function uses O and H? The sine. So sine of my angle, which is 48, is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, so 8 over x. And then this is where you draw your 1 underneath it, and then you cross multiply. So x times the sine of 48 will equal 8. 8 times 1 is 8. So to solve this for x, that's a multiply problem. So to get rid of it, I would need to divide by sine of 48. So then I would click the Desmos link, and that's what I would enter into the calculator. Alright, so I'm going to enter 8 divided by sine of 48. So I would do 8 divided by sine 48. And it's 10.76. So the 6 would make the 7 go up to an 8. So I would pick 10.8 for that one. Everybody understand what to do? So you compare the sides that you want to know in the one you're given, right, the one with the letter and the one with the number, to the angle that you have. That's how you know if you use sine, cosine, or tangent. So compared to that angle, you have opposite, adjacent, or hypotenuse. And then you'll know what trig function to use. Set up your proportion. In other words, put a 1 under this and then cross multiply. And then you'll have to divide. Sometimes you just multiply. But you set up your proportion there, okay? So that's how you're going to do that one. All right. All right, so this one you notice is not a multiple choice problem. It is a fill in the blank. And it will grade it for you, for me. It will grade it. So don't put any extra spaces in though. If you accidentally, like we got 10.8. So if I were to type in space 10.8, I don't think it'll grade it correctly. So just be sure you don't put any extra spaces. Don't do like 10 decimal space 8. Don't do any extra, just type in 10.8, okay? And it'll grade it for me. All right? Then, same thing here. It's the same kind of problem. This time you're finding the angle. So what am I going to use when it's when it says missing angle? What do I use? That's when you're going to do the inverse functions, right? That's when you're going to use sine -1, cosine -1, tangent -1. How do you know which one? Same way we did on the other ones. I got to compare the angle I'm looking for to the other, to the two sides. So you compare it and say, oh yeah, that's sine, that's cosine, or that's tangent. And then you do that function with a -1, the inverse function, with that fraction. And it'll give you the angle measure. And then of course you're rounding. She wants you to round to the nearest tenth. So that means I want you to round to the nearest tenth, which means you're going to look at the second one to see if the first one goes up or stays the same. Same thing here, missing angle. This is a missing side again, but instead of putting it as an X, she asked for it right here. Side AC, so that would be AC, this side right here. So then you'll have to, you can put your X there if you want to. Draw it on your paper, put your X on that side if you need to. Alright, but it's the same as those other ones. Same as that one. Alright, this one, you actually don't have to do any math on this one. Y'all look at this one, please. On this one, you don't have to actually plug it in the calculator. The question is, which one would you use? This is more like what you might see on the ACT. They're not going to actually ask you to do the true part. They don't want you to plug it in the calculator. Because putting a number answer doesn't look as complicated as putting this answer, right? But it's actually easier because you don't have to do the math. Set up your proportion and cross multiply, just like you do on those other ones, and then you'll know which one is correct. So on these, oh, that did not do right. Why did it do that? That is, oh, it's doing that on mine because my screen is smaller, I think. It shouldn't do that on yours. It should have them all in a line. So I'm asking you for sine, cosine, tangent, secant, cosecant, cosecant, secant, cotangent. And she was nice because she put the S and the C together for you, right? So do sine, cosine, and tangent, and then what do you do to find the other ones?
Upside down.
Upside down. So if I have 3 over 5, the next one's 5 over 3, right? But she did not reduce her fractions here. Okay? So if there's one like this where the fraction reduces, don't reduce it. She didn't do any reducing, okay, when she did her correct answers, and I just left it. So you don't have to do any reducing on any of these, okay? So you're just writing a fraction, and here's how you do the fraction on the keyboard. You do the slash, so it'll look funny. So if this one is, I'm not saying it is, I'm not even looking at it, but 7 over 25, this is how I would do it. 7 slash 25, no spaces in between. All right, no spaces in between, just 7, the slash, and then the next number, okay, whatever it is. All right, then this one. Now these have roots in the bottom. Do y'all see that? She didn't even get rid of the roots in the bottom, the square roots in the bottom, and that's fine. Sometimes the ACT will give you a question like that, which drives me bananas, because we were taught never, ever, ever to leave a root at the bottom of a fraction. You never leave the denominator irrational. But whatever. They do that sometimes on the ACT, so it's a good question for the ACT. So when you're doing this one of the side links is 10 square root 2. So you're just going to do opposite over hypotenuse, adjacent over hypotenuse, opposite over adjacent, and then you just leave it where it is. And this is a drag and drop, okay? So it shouldn't be too difficult. All right, then again, here's another one. So she didn't give her kids the missing side, but I went ahead and gave y'all the triangle down here, okay? So here's your theta, and then this side's 6, this side's 8, this side is 10. And she did not do any reducing. So her fractions are 6 over 8, 10 over 8, whatever they are, okay? All right, and then I think there's only a few more. No, this one's it. And then you're picking secant. And that's it. That's the whole test. So hopefully, the ones that you need a calculator on, I gave you a Desmos link. And the rest of them, you're just writing the fractions, and you're not even reducing them. All right? And that's the whole test.